Hey everybody, Dirili here. Thank you so much for joining me for the very first episode of PsychiXX Mystic Love. So I've been holding off on this video for a little too long because I wanted to add something. Well, actually I wanted to redo this whole thing, but I'm not going to have time for a little while. And I really wanted to put this out there though, because Accela was nice enough to write me back, and they even put out a public announcement about their policies. So I wanted to get this out there as an advertisement for their company and their games. They have a bit of a different policy than most of the companies because they're actually allowing the normal ending to be aired, but they don't want the correct answers to the choices to be aired, so no walkthroughs are allowed. So when I make the choices, I'm not allowed to show whether they were the correct ones or not. So anyway, the point is, yeah, I wanted to make a better version of this video, but I'm not going to have time for a little while. So I'm just going to put this one out there for now, and then I'll make much better videos when I actually get around to picking up the series as a regular, which I might do after Tengu Otogi Zoshi is over, so that would be kind of soon. But without further ado, here is the first episode of PsychiXX, the introduction here. Please forgive me for the mistakes. Like I said, I swear I'll do better in the next video. So you can just sit back, relax, and let me read you a story. And of course, as usual, I use the default name, Ayamura Honami. Prologue. Gray clouds hung low in the sky, though it was my precious day off. I came out here for a change. Under the sky that's ready to rain, the new clothes in the show window seemed melancholy. A sign with the drawing of foods was lackluster. But then again, I didn't want to spend my day off in the room of my somber studio apartment. I imagined myself sitting alone in a dark small room with my arms wrapped around my knees. Oh, you don't have to be so depressed about it. The thought of it almost recalled bad memories. I shuddered. I felt a paper knife in my jacket's pocket. The knife that I had bought at a general store I stopped by just now. Now I can't remember why I bought it. When I saw it at the store, it looked so attractive. If he were here, an image of a man appears in my mind. His intrepid face like a wolf, his keen look, his toned body, the big hands. I like him already. Now Take Kiryu. I call my attractive boss's name in my heart. My heart started to beat a little faster just by calling his name unuttered. I wish I could walk along the street arm in arm with him. And if he had selected the paper knife for me, I would cherish it for my lifetime. But having said that, I could never imagine them spending time together, being romantic at all. I sighed. Moreover, suppose he was here. All I could imagine was his back hurrying away, checking to make sure there was nothing wrong. You call that a patrol, not a date. Yes, he's a genuine detective. On second thought, it's not so bad to go on patrol with him. I better not show how I feel or else he might get mad at me. The man I admire the most, whom I pursued for 10 years since the day. I dreamed of standing beside him. Huh? Honami? Suddenly, someone called my name. I came back from the imaginary world. Takuya! It must be Takuya, for he's the only person who calls me by my first name. Just as I expected, he was standing in front of me, with a warm smile on his face. My neighbor who lived in the same apartment. Takuya Hyoki. Are you off today? Yeah, you too? Yes. He's the manager of the coffee shop, which expands its business throughout Japan. I heard from someone that he works on weekends, from morning till night, and that he's only able to take days off on weekdays. He's older than me, but his amiable disposition makes me feel like I'm talking to my younger brother. He's one of few people I can confide in. Since we met here by chance, we might as well grab a coffee. Sounds great, let's go. How I wish I could say that to you, though. He looked dejected. Well, I guess he's busy. I have a business meeting now. Oh, I see. Although he's off today, he's a manager. He may be busy with inspections of rival shops, studies of dishes, and purchase of equipment. Well then, we can go out for coffee another time. Darn it. It's rare to have the same day off. I might as well cancel the meeting. No, you shouldn't. I felt as if I was coaxing a whining little brother. Since you're the manager, you shouldn't behave like that. Good luck with your work. All right, see you later. Having eyes like an abandoned puppy, He went away, looking back again and again. As I looked at his back, I couldn't help laughing. He's so cute. I feel like that often. Yeah, okay, I'm correcting a lot of the language in this, but the translation's really awkward, so I'm just going ahead and correcting it. Is he really older than me? Why did they have to keep shadowing his eyes? A man was staring at Honami and Hioki, who had been talking to each other pleasantly. Oh. The young leader of a global corporation, Cha Trade Groups, Kaoru Josako.
He must be the manager of Pru 1 Ion, Hioki.
I don't know if that's a mistranslation or if they put a space there that wasn't supposed to be. I don't know. We'll see later, I guess.
And he was going to meet with Hioki at the meeting later today. Put that aside.
He was interested in the woman who was talking to Hioki.
Who is that girl?
The moment when Josako saw Honami, he was thrilled. Love at first sight? An inexplicable feeling swelled up inside him.
Is this hostility? No. What's this?
Somehow I felt some feelings that were not quite friendship toward Honami.
I don't even know her.
They don't know each other, but he feels something not quite friendly about her.
It's not obvious hostility, but without a doubt she has something detrimental to me subconsciously. She probably doesn't realize herself.
Have we ever even met you? He smiled wryly.
It's not rare for me to make strangers angry. What I mean is that she's not that kind. In any case, I can forget that for now. What are you doing, Kaoru? It's you, Raiji.
A man with an imposing eye patch was standing next to Josako, unnoticed. The man with the eye patch followed Josako's glance and looked at Honami.
What's wrong with that woman? Nothing.
Josako looked away from Honami.
Do you think that I'm interested in that? It's time to go. Let's go.
As he uttered his words, a herd of men in black suits appeared from nowhere. Raiji stepped back as they gathered.
Yeah, I don't have any time to waste with such a sober woman,
muttered Josako, as if to shake off her image that wouldn't disappear.
Since I have to investigate the incident and solve it.
In Josako's mind, the strange incident appeared that created a sensation in the world for several years. Accompanied by the men, he walked toward Pru Lion. Okay, so it was Pru Lion, not 1 Ion. Okay, so I can't just brush over all of the typos. Just as I put down my hands after waving to Takuya.
Yo, cutie Honami,
said a voice amusingly very close to me. I looked back, surprised.
Was that your boyfriend? There's more to cute Honami than meets the eye.
Tsukimori. It was Yusuke Tsukimori who called my name. He works at the same police station. Since he works under Mr. Kiryu, I saw him several times. It means our relationship is not intimate enough. He's not my boyfriend, and don't call me Cutie Honami. He's new and just graduated from university. We haven't had any private conversations. He should call me by my last name when he needs to. But...
That's not fair. That guy was calling you by your first name. Gotcha. You can call me Yusuke, and I call you.
Hey, don't get me upset. I know I'm not experienced, but I'm a senior. I strictly told him as he was still behaving like a college student.
All right.
Tsukimori laughed without a trace of shame.
Please don't glare at me, ma'am, Ayamura. Honami is too cute to regard as a senior or elder person. And that's the biggest problem.
How can I deal with his attitude? I can't keep pace with him. Besides, did you have something to talk to me about?
Nah, nothing.
Tsukimori pushes his hair back.
I saw you in the distance, so I came close to say hello, and then...
He overheard my conversation with Takuya, and he doesn't intend to amend his supportive tone.
Well, I'm on duty, I'll go. And don't forget to ask me out for coffee next time, Honami.
What in the world did he stop me for in the first place? I sighed involuntarily as I watched the youngster leave with a light step. Why not get some sweets somewhere and browse a bookshop or CD shop, I thought as I just passed by a building. Spot. Why does it say spot? Huh? I felt a drop fall on my shoulder. It finally begins to rain. I looked up at the sky reproachfully. How dare you, sky! At that moment I saw... Huh? Up above my head, something was falling from the sky. Not rain, I guess? I kicked the ground and jumped back spontaneously. Squash? With a graphic noise, it smashed on the ground where I was standing a minute ago. Ah! I moved my head awkwardly and gazed at my shoulder where I thought the raindrop had just fallen. A vivid red spot spread on there. It smelled like rusted iron. The red spot. I returned my eyes to it and gasped. An object resembling the body of a human man lay on the ground in front of me. What? It was a weekday in the middle of the city, with fashion buildings all around. Nobody noticed this unusual incident on the street, since it wasn't very busy with people, as it would be on the weekend. I stooped to observe. It hit the ground so hard that it was damaged severely. Even stranger, I found some bizarre object. Cut wounds? It looked as though the body had been cut by some sharp-edged instrument many times. This is... an occupational habit, probably. I put on latex gloves, which I hid in my bag. But I'm not on the job, it seems like. Should I be doing this right now? As I tried to take a closer look at the bizarre object, I heard... Why am I calling it a bizarre object? It's a dead body. I heard a little aerial sound, like a smirking laugh. Reflexively, I looked in the direction the voice came from. I glimpsed a figure running off inside the building through the windows. Chase! My intuition as a detective tells me what to do. I stood up quickly and ran into the building. It must have been the 3rd floor. No, the 4th. I tried to remember which window the stranger had peeked through. I rushed up the stairs to the 4th floor and kicked in the door in front of me. Well, never mind calling for backup or anything. Huh? The sight which caught my eye made me draw back for a moment. The entire floor was covered in red. In the middle of the room lay a man, with his eyes wide open in fear, yet nothing would ever reflect in them any more. It was obvious that the man was dead. It didn't take long before I heard the loud screech of a siren outside. The fashion building street was dyed the color of the rotary beacon lights. The clicking sound of the shutter echoed repeatedly in the empty room. And there was more than one coroner surrounding the body. They were recording something.
I didn't expect you to encounter the crime scene.
My boss, Mr. Iseki, came near me.
You aren't on duty today, though. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. Responding to Mr. Iseki, I looked at the man who stands at a distance from the victim. Mr. Kiryu. Mr. Kiryu gave a stern look at the victim, with his arms folded. His back created an atmosphere which denied the entire world. And this is the man we love.
So, you couldn't even tell whether the stranger was a man or a woman?
No, I'm sorry. I lowered my head to apologize to my boss. The face that peeked through the window disappeared right away. It wasn't enough time to even determine the sex. The giggle I heard was only an aerial sound. I couldn't catch any detailed information, even though I was at the crime scene. I gnashed my teeth for being so pathetic.
That's okay. By the way, from now on, you're Kiryu's buddy.
What? I heard a cool voice taking over Mr. Iseki's words. I looked at the owner of the voice. A beautiful guy wearing glasses stood there. His soft atmosphere doesn't match this savage crime scene at all. Rather than such a thing. This is a restricted area. People aren't allowed to enter unless you're the victim's... Just as I was about to finish my sentence, Mr. Iseki covered my mouth with his big hand in a fluster.
Sir, Murasame, may I ask what this is in reference to?
In contrast to Mr. Iseki, who changed color, the guy called Murasame smiled.
I finished telling you my request. Well, I'll leave it to you. Yes, sir.
The guy waved elegantly, and at once. Mr. Murasame, he was called. Who is he? Mr. Iseki was really awed by him. My mouth was freed from Mr. Iseki's hand.
As you've been told.
Told what?
From now on, you become Kiryu's buddy. It's a decision. You may regard this as a command of the chief of police.
After leaving the crime scene, Murasame looked back at the building.
So, she must be the one.
Its window covered with a tarp. It takes some time to finish the inspection of the scene.
She seems to be a steady lady, more than I expected.
He was pleased with Hanami, who came to warn him unflinchingly.
But,
Murasame knitted his brows slightly.
The treasure of Suira.
He imagined her behind the tarp at the crime scene. Murasame reached out a hand toward her.
I must keep her away from their hands, or else she would suffer from their intolerable humiliation.
Murasame slowly closed his hand, which had been spread open, reaching out toward the window covered with the tarp.
She may be safe with Kiryu.
Kiryu is a man of good report, a competent detective. Moreover, Tsukimori is his subordinate.
Princess.
He muttered as he cherished her.
No matter what it takes, I'll protect you. The treasure of Suira.
Yeah, I definitely want to go after him first. What do you mean by the command of police chief, may I ask? Because the personnel matters were so sudden, I pressed my boss. And by Kiryu's buddy. I don't have anything against it, though. Nonetheless.
Well, it's actually the command of a rather superior person than the chief.
Huh? Mr. Iseki mumbled. He wasn't making himself quite clear.
Never mind. Treat it as a command from the chief of the police station, understand? Any problems?
No. I looked at Mr. Kiryu's strict profile. There shouldn't be any problems. I became detective solely because I admired Mr. Kiryu so much. Then again, it's unnatural. Normally, you're off duty after making a report on what you've seen when you're accidentally at the crime scene. But now, completely out of the blue, I was asked to work under Mr. Kiryu at the crime scene. And how could that be? The command of the police chief? It was he who was responsible for the appointment, the man with the glasses called Sir Murasame. I know the face of the chief of our police station. At least this guy was not the chief. Is there anything going on behind the scenes? I'm glad to be near Mr. Kiryu. However, I was even more concerned about how it came to be.
So, you go and tell Kiryu about it.
What? Mr. Iseki left the room as he said so. He's not coming with me? The boss should tell Mr. Kiryu about it, not me. He was much higher ranking than me. I just can't stand here and wait. I made up my mind and walked toward Mr. Kiryu. Excuse me, sir. I stood near Mr. Kiryu and saluted. I was ordered to be transferred here. My name is Honami Ayamura. I'm appointed to become your buddy. They say buddy, but I'm pretty sure they mean partner. I would appreciate your guidance. He doesn't look too happy about this. Mr. Kiryu glanced at me and furrowed his brows. And without saying anything, he gave the victim his eyes again. Mr.
I'll never accept it. My partner retired 1 year ago. I don't need a new one. Now get out.
Well, I can't just leave here, though. Silence. He was just giving me the cold shoulder, rejecting me. No way. I know it's strange. I sighed weakly. You don't normally get allocated new duty like this, even if you happen to be at the crime scene. Mr. Kiryu looked at me without turning his head back. I saw the sternness in his eyes fade a little. But...
If you realize that, leave here right now. So much the better.
Ugh. But I'm not here to play around or have fun with them either. I came here because the boss ordered me to join them. We belong to an organization. I can't just leave here because he says so. Not only that, it was hard for me to get this job, to become a detective. Dark memories of the past crossed my mind. Memories of the times when I lost my family and hopes, feeling emotionally numb to live through all by myself. It was then a criminal group took advantage of me, and I almost became part of the criminal group without realizing it. A guy saved me from falling into the hands of the criminal group. He came to me and said,
Are you all right?
It was you, Mr. Kiryu. I was only a girl with no liveliness whatsoever, whose heart froze thoroughly. I looked as though I was the living dead. The guy who came to fill a girl's frozen heart with warm feelings and brought a girl like me back to life was... Mr. Kiryu. I clenched my fists. I stared at his solitary back. That day, 10 years ago, finally I found a purpose to live. And I strived for the goal. The one and only goal that I become a competent officer to work with Mr. Kiryu. And here I am. I'm so honored to be appointed as Mr. Kiryu's partner. My dream has come true, at last, after 10 years of struggling. And I didn't feel anything vicious against me, although he kept telling me to go away. He was not at all a thorn that would harm me, but rather a wall with a blurred outline. Oh well. I don't have to feel guilty anyway. After all, I came here to execute the order, so there's no need for me to get all flustered about it. I just work under him to perform the order, no matter what Mr. Kiryu says. Excuse me. I slipped through Mr. Kiryu and stooped near the victim.
Hey.
I ignored him and started to examine the victim. Ugh. I doubt that anybody could remain calm with this sight. I feel myself almost vomit. But I gulp it back. This is the world Mr. Kiryu sees. I come this far because I wanted to stand next to Mr. Kiryu. The body that lay in the middle of a pool of blood was male and probably in his 50s, whose right arm is missing. And I begin to grasp what nearly crashed on my head, the missing arm.
Aren't you leaving?
I turned around to find Mr. Kiryu looking at me indifferently. I heard Mr. Kiryu's cool voice from behind. Not mocking nor angry. No emotions whatsoever could be seen in his steady gaze. I shook my head and turned around to look at the body again. Huh? There was something strange about the body. The body was covered with marks, made by some kind of keen instrument from head to toe. The cruelest of all was that of the right arm. The peculiar thing about it was that it didn't look like cut wounds like other marks, but rather it looked as though the right arm had somehow exploded. Ugh. Oh! I recalled a file on a serial murder. Uh-oh. Victims which had cut marks all over the entire body, though none of them were proven mortal. The fatal wound resembled a blast injury in all cases. Yet there had been no gunpowder residue, nor any presence of living witnesses, and the case remained unsolved, filed. S5 incident, commonly known as... Could it be salamander?
Huh.
I heard Mr. Kiryu gulp behind me. The footsteps came closer and closer. And the next moment, Mr. Kiryu grabbed my arm and pulled it forcibly.
How do you know that name?
Excuse me? He looked at me with piercing eyes. His face so close I could almost feel his breath.
You explain why you know salamander right now.
I just thought that the state of the victim resembles that of the previous case I saw in the file the other day, and...
How could you be interested in that file? You have nothing to do with the case.
The glint in his eye struck me, so strong it nearly penetrated my heart. I was curious about the incident.
Curious?
Yes. I looked at the floor. The pool of blood had already turned from red to black. I came across the file by accident. Not only was it bizarre, but there was something more to it. I thought something was hidden behind it. But why is it called salamander? Suddenly, Mr. Kiryu released my arm.
Go home.
I don't want to go home, whatever you say. I hang on to him desperately. I was told to work under you.
Don't misunderstand.
Mr. Kiryu sighed deeply.
You got the order just a moment ago, right? Then you should start work tomorrow.
What? But...
It's troublesome for me to see you in holiday clothes. Starting tomorrow, you should wear more appropriate clothes to work.
He's right. I'm not wearing the police uniform, so today's outfit's not appropriate at the crime scene. Yes, Mr. Kiryu. I head to the exit reluctantly. I turned around to see him once again before I left. He was back to work as if nothing had happened. I'm going now. I talked to his back and bowed. There was no answer. Huh. I changed my clothes. I lay down on the bed with a frame made from pipes that often creaks. I'm tired today. I was off today, but being involved in an unexpected incident, I ended up working for half the day as a result. On second thought, a miracle has happened. I get to work with Mr. Kiryu unexpectedly. All I can do is my best. I uttered and cheered myself up, and I thought for a while with my eyes on the ceiling. And that's it for the prologue. Next episode will be choosing our partner, which, as I said, would be Kei Murasama. So I guess we'll see how this goes. If a lot of you like it and want me to continue, then I will. But yeah, like I said, it's going to be difficult. So if people aren't particularly interested, I might not continue with this. We shall see. So anyway, hope to see you in that next video or some of my other ones. And I'd be so grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show some support. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye-bye, everybody.